Today's guest is someone whose music has touched hearts across Australia. After captivating both audiences and judges on the ABC's acclaimed documentary series The Piano, Alys Cavanagh has become known not only for her extraordinary musical talent, but also for her passion for bringing hope, love, and connection into people's lives. Whether she's performing in hospitals, schools, churches, residential services, or community settings, Alys uses music as a powerful tool to encourage and uplift others. She's also a wife, mum, carer, and author of Bade Me Eat, an extraordinary personal encounter of a journey through anorexia. Welcome to Monday Matters. I'm Ian Bunston. Alys, welcome to Monday Matters. I'm so honoured to have you as our guest today.
Thank you. It's an honour to be here.
Before we get into our chat, I'd like to share a video of your experience on the piano. Is that okay?
Yep, no, you can go for it.
Are you looking for a piano?
Yeah.
You've come to the right place. Hello, I'm Amanda.
So nice to meet you.
Hello, what's your name?
Alys.
Hi, Alys. Come and sit down.
Thank you.
Welcome to Dandenong Market. It's not the most common place you'd play a piano.
No, it's great. It's awesome.
Tell me about Alys.
I'm a mum and a carer. I'm 47 years old. I live in Ringwood, just up the road.
And how old's your child?
He's 12.
12.
Yes.
What's his name?
Lockie.
Look at your face when you talk about it, Lockie. And have you played piano for a long time?
I started learning at a young age when I was 8 years old. I was talent scouted at one of these top music schools in Britain. And I got in, and that meant going to a boarding school. We were very much taught if you want to make it, you have to make it by the age of 14, 15. I was practicing 8 hours a day on top of a full curriculum. I was working till 2 in the morning. And so it was push, push, push. A lot of us were like crying ourselves to sleep most nights. So it was a hard place to be, you know? Yeah. So the piano I loved, but it was also kind of like I was kind of chained to it, you know? And I think that's probably why at 14 I ended up having a nervous breakdown. I couldn't cope with the situation. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And I spent my later years and right into adulthood going in and out of psychiatric hospitals trying to get on top of this. And I haven't played for 30 years until just 9 months ago.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
For 30 years.
I mean, I always felt like I lost a part of me when I stopped playing. It was such a grief. I couldn't look at a piano. It was like losing a loved one, you know?
Lachlan is 12 years old.
Yeah.
Have you encouraged him to play at all?
When Locke started playing, I was like, okay, maybe I could try playing. He does it in such a free way. I'm like, you know, I should have done that as a kid.
I think that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
This is an extraordinary step you're taking. I can't wait to hear you, Alys.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't wait to hear her play.
Same here.
Like, going through that much in your life, that's a massive turnaround. Wow.
So many things go into making this a beautiful performance. Just getting to the notes themselves, because there's a lot of cross rhythm, all of these shadings between the fingers.
Am I correct in saying this feels like the most difficult piece to play that we've seen so far?
This is the most difficult piece we've seen so far.
What a waste being able to play like this and not being
able to
Oh my
share
gosh.
it. And not be able to experience it too.
Yeah. she couldn't believe that she did it at the end, right?
Oh, I hope you just felt joy.
Sorry, I never thought I'd play again. I really didn't. And to be here just in a real place, not like a squeaky clean performance situation, just with everyday people, just to share some beautiful music. It was what it was all about, and I just didn't realize it as a kid.
I hope you got from today what you were hoping to get.
Yeah, more than that, I think.
Oh, welcome back, Alys.
Yes.
Piano and music, thank goodness.
When you said, Alice, I didn't think I'd play again, I had to say I felt quite emotional when you said that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I seem to make people cry a lot, so I don't mean to.
That's quite okay. Alice, look, millions of people watched your journey on the ABC program, The Piano. Incredible. It was such a courageous thing to do. So what did you feel as though you learnt about yourself now coming back and being able to play and play nationally, on a program like The Piano?
Yeah, thanks. It's a really good question. I think it's the question to ask always about anything in life, isn't it? What have I learned? It was a tremendous privilege to be on that program, and not just in terms of the high profile people that were observing us, but the other participants, and to hear their journeys was just very inspiring. And I think that in itself was a very humbling thing. But I think the thing that I learned most actually came from the process itself. Although you saw a very tiny segment, that actually came from 3 days of filming, one of which was in my home with long interviews. And I knew that I really had to clarify my own thoughts for those interviews. And I knew the key question would always be, so why did you start playing again after not playing for 30 years? And then how did you do it? Because the reason that I didn't play was because of all the trauma that was involved in my experience as a child at music school, and other elements as well. And so sitting at the keyboard brought back so much grief. As much as I wanted to do it, that was always felt impossible for me to overcome. So filming the piano meant that I had to really answer those questions for myself and be clear about that. And I'm so grateful to know the answers to those questions. And I think the why question, which I hold on to every day, really, the context of it is that as a kid, the reason that you play is to win, right? That's especially in the music school situation. You play to be the best, even though not everyone can be the best. It's clear that only one's going to win the rat race, but that's what you train to do. And you play for the most prestigious environments, so the best competitions, the most prestigious concert halls. But when I came back to playing, I knew that I can't do that. That nearly killed me. I need to find a different reason. And through a variety of experiences of stepping into the community, and sharing the piano little by little, I realized that actually the reason that I play now is very different. It's to touch people. It's to bring some window of love and light into their life, and to find the darkest places I can to do that. And that gives me a real kick, compared with the sort of traditional, oh, you'll be so happy if you make it on a concert platform story. So I was very grateful to learn that was the reason I'm playing. And I have to remind myself that every time I sit at the keys and get caught up in that old thinking of like, I've got to be, it's got to be perfect. And I should be playing somewhere very, impressive, to remember, no, this is why I do it. And then the how is really important, because for that, it's good to appreciate perhaps the challenge of sitting on that piano stool and putting my hands to keys. Because every time I did, I have complex PTSD. Every time I did, I would just get flashbacks and voices of teachers, like, you do it again, it's not good enough, constantly berating me. And the only way that I could overcome that was by going sort of deep and finding a gentler voice that was much kinder, that was kind of saying, I love it when you play. It's beautiful that you made a mistake. It sounds great. I love that difference, and a very different kind of voice, and really learning to hook into that. And also to ask myself 2 questions each time I sit down. And that is, am I willing to play with mistakes today? And am I willing to not win, to not be the best? Because if I can say yes to both those questions, then I'm liberated to just do the thing, So although the piano didn't actually share that footage, the process of clarifying those questions in my own mind, I think, has been so helpful. yeah, so I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
that's great, Alice. And rest assured, we love it when you play. And what a great place to perform the Dandenong Market of all places.
Yeah, yeah, it was very, very noisy. In fact, it's really odd because you're mic'd, so I felt like I couldn't hear what I was doing. But then obviously when they play it back, it's very loud. Oh gosh.
No, it
Yeah.
was great. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about music and hope because you often talk about music as a vehicle for hope and love. Is there a time when you've seen music make a real difference in someone's life?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I'd hate to be presumptuous and sort of think, oh, just making such a difference, because that just feels a bit arrogant, and I don't presume to know exactly what each person's experience is when I play with them. But I have had the pleasure of seeing some beautiful things. Um, you know, I think seeing a group of people, I go to one place that's a residential place for aged care and mental health and homelessness. So it's kind of people that have fallen through every crack, and they can't afford to even be in a kind of well resourced aged care facility if they're elderly. They've come to the bottom of the heap in a sense. It's a very sad and kind of run down place. And I think each time I play with them and I see this group of people that have gathered into the living room area, that in itself is a beautiful thing, because those people shared to me, we never come out of our rooms except when you come and play the music. So that the music would be the point where they actually get connection from one another, as well as seeing somebody like myself come in and share that with them. That's incredibly precious. I think but there are other things also particularly when I play in memory care support units, where people have dementia. A really lovely thing I notice is that families can stay with their loved ones for a long period of time. If you go and see someone with really advanced dementia and there are no words, it's such a difficult visit. It's like they want to be with them, but we've got nothing to talk about because they can't converse in that manner. But by providing music in that space, it's like this holding ground. And families have come up to me very teary sometimes saying, thank you so much. This meant that we could spend the time we really want to spend with Dad, but we just can't do it when there's nothing happening, so they're just small glimpses. There is one story which always stays with me actually though. A lady called Edith, and it was in the early days when I started playing again, and I played to a bunch, in an aged care facility up the road. And I have to play a range of stuff, mainly pop songs for them. Actually, that's what they usually like, and they like to sing along and things like that. But at the end of the session, I finished, and one of the nurses helped this lady up to me, and she was basically non-verbal with her dementia, sadly. But on this occasion, she started to say something, and she had tears in her eyes, and she just was saying, the little children, they came back home again. They came back home again. And I was trying to work out where's this come from? And the nurse was like, she's trying to remember a song that you played. So I went through all the songs in my head, and then I could remember, okay, it was the White Cliffs of Dover, because the White Cliffs of Dover, is, you probably know, a traditional song, talks about the children coming home after the Blitz. And so from that moment, I was able to say, oh, it was that song, Edith. So do you remember that? Were you one of those children that came back home after the Blitz? And she was like, yes, it was so beautiful. And she was crying. And that was the sum total of the conversation. But for me, that showed that just in that moment, there was this window where she could be validated and she could express herself and pour out some tears that she needed to cry. And it was just profoundly humbling. And it just shows the way that music can do something that words in themselves can't. So yeah, a few examples.
Alice, they're beautiful examples, and wonderful stories. I wouldn't mind talking a bit about balancing life's roles, particularly you, because you're a musician, speaker, writer, wife, mum, and carer. Has it been a challenge, do you find, balancing all those roles in the midst of all that's been going on in your life?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I don't think balance is something that comes easy to me for two reasons. One is that I myself am autistic. My son's autistic as well. And as an autistic person, we have a great capacity to be all or nothing about everything. So that can be difficult to rein in at the best of times. And I'm also I can be quite perfectionist. So I kind of want to do everything really well. And that can make for for juggling things really hard, but also just circumstantially. I mean, particularly my son's needs with his own special needs means that the day can be very unpredictable, and his needs can need to take up a lot more time than other things, and you don't really know when that's going to happen. So it's quite easy to feel frazzled. And I suppose there's two answers to how I do find that balance, which I don't do perfectly. I think it helps immensely to have a husband that can make gentle observations, like, "Oh, you've been practicing a lot more than normal. Are you sure that, are you getting your priorities right here?" Like, or, you're spending all your time doing this for Lockie. Maybe you can kind of rein that in. So he's a fantastic checker on that. Naturally, each day, we have 24 hours, and I try and plan my time as best I can. But so often that plan blows out. And there, the third thing that helps me, I'd say, is I mean, for me, my spirituality is really important to me. And I found that having a time in the day where I can just kind of withdraw, even for 20 minutes even, and center and be still and tune into that deeper presence that helps me with the things that I do, just helps me get that bird's eye perspective of, well, what's actually really important right now. And it might be just time with John and giving him a hug. Or it might be to be focused on a particular project that I'm working on. I find that voice, that inner voice that gives me that guidance, so helpful. And even some days when I wake up and I just feel very overwhelmed by everything, to just listen for, like, okay, well, what's the next right thing? What do I need to do next? And hear that kind of voice guide me. So it's a bit of a combo thing, but I haven't mastered balance. I don't think. You speak to my husband about that. I don't think I'm brilliant.
And certainly all of us too haven't, struck that good balance as well, Alice. So it sounds like you're doing a pretty good job. Alice, I'm just thinking that many people feel, I'm thinking of those that are listening today, overwhelmed often by challenges of everyday life and what they face. And to say the very least, you've had challenges throughout your life. For others going through difficult seasons, can you offer any words of hope for them, do you think?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I'm mindful that I can't pretend to know what another person is going through whenever I speak with somebody, or even if I'm sharing in a forum like this. I wouldn't want to presume to sort of have the perfect advice. I can only share what's helped for me. And I think the most encouraging thing for me when it comes to difficult times is to know that actually in the midst of the difficult time, there's something very precious there. When I was in the throes of my illness, and with an illness like an eating disorder, which is just, it's a very stigmatized illness, there's a lot of shame. And you just constantly have this sense that life will be better when I fix this. When I fix this, then everything will be okay. But of course, for decades, I couldn't fix it. And that was very soul destroying. I think now, being in a better space with my mental health, one of my passions is to connect with people still in the mess. I'm still in a different kind of mess. I still have challenges, but in that particular kind of really shame-based situation, and share with them, this moment that you're finding so horrible and you wish would just be over, is actually where you might find some treasures in that. And I know for me, those treasures come in two regards. And one, just reflecting on my spirituality. Many people will be familiar with things like the 12-step program, where people who've had long behaviors that they can't break, they need something kind of bigger and stronger than themselves to draw from. And that was definitely the way for me. And I found that person, I found that thing. And now I find that when I'm very broken and I'm really struggling, which I still can be a lot, that those are the moments where I get to draw from that strength in a much more intimate way. And it's a very loving strength. It's a very gentle kind of presence. And that's a beautiful thing, even though I'd love the problem to go away. But I think the other element is that I'm a very strong-willed, stubborn kind of person. And I realize now that my hardest moments, I'm kind of grateful for them, because there's the opportunity for a softening there. Not always. Sometimes we can face hard times and harden in response and feel bitterness and anger and stay in that place. But if we can allow that person, that thing that is bigger than us and more loving than us, to let us just accept and let go, then the hard times can be a place of softening. And I've seen people who are going through terrible stuff, with the most beautiful hearts, And I know that's because of the hardship that they're experiencing. So I think, look, those are the things that give me hope, because whilst I'm in a better place than I was, I still have symptoms of my illness. I still struggle immensely. Life is hard as a carer and all of those things. And I need to know that in the broken place, there is goodness, not just when it's all sorted. So I don't know, maybe that is of some encouragement to others.
It's very well said, and I just love your sense of integrity and honesty, and you're just so willing to just pour it all out there, Alys. Look, I was just wanting to bring people's attention to this. In the intro, I mentioned you're an author. Okay, I read your amazing book, Love Bade Me Eat. And I'm really interested in this because research on expressive writing and narrative therapy suggests that putting experiences into words can help make sense of the difficult events, identify, say, the patterns, and develop maybe a more coherent understanding of their particular journey. Was this true for you in writing this remarkable book?
Oh, thank you for your kind words. Yeah, look, I think it's definitely true that to be able to define our narratives is incredibly important, particularly when you've experienced trauma or complex trauma, because your brain tends to be fragmented with lots of intrusive flashbacks, and you kind of don't know why am I the way I am, and it's helpful to clarify that journey. But that said, with that book, I probably, before I wrote the book, I had kind of semi got to that place. I mean, I'd been in therapy for that many years, golly. I was an expert on why I was sick. I just couldn't work out the way out, and funnily enough, it was also probably one of the hardest things to do. And I know when I was writing it, a lot of people were saying, I didn't tell many people, but those I did tell that I was writing with, they'd say, oh, it must be such a cathartic experience. And I was like, no, I'm not enjoying this at all. I would, because the reason being that the book doesn't detail all my grisly trauma and whatever, but I had to deal with that material to draw out the positive stuff. And so every day I wrote, I had like physical symptoms of PTSD as I'm writing it. So it was really, really challenging. But I think the first thing I would say is that I had a real clear sense why I was writing that book. With mental health, but particularly with eating disorders, the treatment is really harsh, is they still haven't quite nailed it. And that's not for lack of compassion and devotion and commitment on the part of the medical fraternity, but I think it's well known that we sufferers cycle in and out of treatment over and over again. And it is one of those illnesses where even as a patient, you can feel a tremendous amount of judgment. I mean, you arrive to hospital and unlike other patients, you're frisked and stripped and you have to, be locked out of all your room and your bathroom and everything. It's almost like you're a prison, you're a criminal. You can feel, even though it's sort of done with the best of intentions. So there's a real sense of judgment and shame. And the treatment is very pushy. If you're really, really committed, you'll beat this thing and you'll just try harder. And, for the sake of your son, you can do this. And this kind of pushing. And it never worked for me. I know it probably saved my life, but it kept me sick as well. And I know for others, not all, but for others, that's also the case. But similarly, also in the literature that's written around eating disorders, there's kind of a similar vein. There's quite a lack of stuff from lived experience recovery. And there's quite a lot of stuff that's kind of either, try harder and you can do it. I did this, so you can do this too. Or because I move in the faith sphere as well, in that domain, unfortunately, there's still literature that kind of equates it to a sin and you just need to repent, all of this like really unhelpful stuff. And so I wanted to contribute something different to that discourse that might give hope to others who have also struggled with that element of the problem. And because my journey, the way through, was through a very gentle voice, a very loving voice that was so different to all those kind of push voices that were trying to get me better. And that was so liberating. I really wanted to share that with people. And so I think the motivation was a real blessing to have that desire to give that back. But then within that, in the process, I think the most valuable thing for me was the process of listening in that. Because in this book, there is a bit of narrative as to why I get sick, but the majority of it is the journey out, and that's really addressing all the different layers of the eating disorder. And for me, the answers, the truths that unlocked that came through a series of conversations, a series of moments of revelation, I guess, from this person who helped me on a spiritual level. And to sit down and clarify those conversations and clarify those truths was wonderful, both in terms of my relationship with that person, but also in terms of the very truths themselves. And it's funny, I now still, if I'm having a bad day, I often say to John, I need to go and read that chapter on boundaries again. I go, what was it that he said? Yeah, so it still gives me that's a real blessing to draw from that, having written it. Yeah.
And Alys, can I just say again, an incredible book, compelling, and you successfully took me on this journey with you. Even though I can't only imagine what it's been like for you. I felt that I was really part of your journey, and I'm just thinking for anyone else that may want to read this book, well, what's the best way of getting it? Tell us.
Oh, it's kind of you to mention it. If you would like to get it, you can get it on Amazon. If you're in a range of other book suppliers like Booktopia, and if you're in America, Walmart and Barnes and Noble and whatever, so it's available in a number of suppliers, and Koorong as well in Australia. But if you're local, then please reach out to Ian and get in touch, because you can get it much cheaper if you get it off me. Unfortunately, Amazon changes its prices, and I'm embarrassed to say what that price can be sometimes, to do shop around. But you can also get it on Kindle as well, which is always going to be a bit cheaper.
And I promise if anyone comes through me, I won't take any discount, okay? From Alys, thank you for sharing your story today. Your insights and your passion for bringing hope into the lives of others is just remarkable. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing how your music and message continue to impact communities across Australia and beyond. Thank you, Alys, again for being our guest here at Monday Matters today.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Today's interview will be posted on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and Spotify. Please feel free to share Alys' story with a family member, friend or colleague. Monday Matters will take a break for the next 3 weeks. It will resume on July 20th with guest Zoe Daniels, the previous tour federal member for Goldstein. Until then, until we see each other again, stay well and stay connected.